Y'all enjoy lunch? Good. We were so worried that we were not going to get fed. So we were cramming at lunch trying to get food in. There's your alarm. Again, go ahead. 1 minute. Set a timer for 1 minute.
Already stopped. Resuming the timer.
Again, I've given you 1 minute warnings. Again, make sure all your cell phones are turned off or on vibrate and in your pockets or your purses. Your iPads need to be in the top right-hand corner of your desks. Okay, iPads need to be in the top right corner of your desk, cell phones off and away. My name is Ted Willis. I am the Coral Director at the middle school. I've been asked to do a session on integrating your iPads into your, sorry, ma'am, I've asked you to put your iPad away.
Just a second.
No, ma'am, you had a time. I gave you all the time you needed. Excuse me. I am so sorry. You're going to have to explain to your next presenter why you do not have your iPad, and now hold this till the end. Thank you. So again, integrating your iPad into your classroom management plan. Again, I will start over. For those who are not paying attention, my name is Ted Willis, and I'm the middle school Coral Director. I'm going to give her her iPad back. I was using her as a demonstration.
That's the person who's never done anything wrong. She's down there, going through shakes.
Today, I'm not going to talk to you about anything that you don't already know. A lot of this stuff is just going to be reminders about some things that you know how to do. You just have to learn how to integrate the iPad into it. We've all gone to college. We all took, have classroom management skills and techniques that we all use. And I'm not asking you to change any of those. Each subject is different. Each classroom teacher is different. So how we manage our own classrooms is up to you. How I manage mine is how I do mine. So I'm not going to tell you to change anything. Again, what I'm going to do is help you work your iPad into your classroom management plan. One of the biggest things that you have to do is you have to stay strict. You have to set those examples. And the first thing you have to do is set the example with the first student on the first day. They always say that you don't want to smile in the first 40 days of school. And, that's not my personality. I am a smiling person. However, when it comes to disciplining children, particularly at the middle school level, they need to know from day one that I mean business. So when I go, and I even ask, I take, because where was her warning? Where was her warning to put her iPad up? Yeah. Did I not state at the beginning, you have time to do what you want to on your iPads. At the timer, please put it up. That's your warning that you give your students. Sorry, I keep taking your iPad. I'm just going to make an example of you.
Grab hold of it, and then it becomes, does this happen in my classroom?
You go straight to administration. Straight to administration.
With their phone.
And I will have a chance for, again, for questions and answers at the end. Again, my presentation is short. So, no, you're fine, Because I know you have a lot of questions. Again, we're all individual teachers. We have individual plans. So you want to know how you want to make it work for you. So that's what I'm here to do. The reason I decided to do this session is this is my first year in Greene County. I came from a Longley School for the Arts, and we've had iPads in our classrooms for 2 years. So I've been working with the iPad in the classroom for 2 years. So I kind of got a jump start on everybody when I came here on how to work it into the plan. So I wanted to give you some of my tips. Again, stay strict, stay on top of the ball, make sure that you always follow through. If you tell your students, put your iPads away, that's when you say, okay, if you're not going to, you take it away. The only problem with that is, how many of you are parents? Or plan on being parents? Hopefully one day. When you discipline your children, guess who else gets disciplined? I have a friend. She had a child who had to discipline. They had to cancel weekend plans to go away because the child was on restriction. That was their vacation too. When you discipline your child, you have to discipline yourself. So you have to be prepared when you take your iPad away. How many of you like to do assessments on your iPads? I do. I love to use Google Form. I use handouts all the time. If you take the child's iPad away, that doesn't mean that education stops. That means you have to plan in advance for their education. If you have an assessment that you're using your iPad for, and you take that child's iPad away, you have to be ready with a backup plan. You have to know in advance what you're going to do for that assessment. Again, that's number 3. I'm going to take it away from you. 5 times. Give me 5. I'll get it from you. My administrator just walked in. You just made me really nervous. So, always have a backup plan. And again, as a parent, you have to have your own backup plan. You have to be disciplined as well. So make sure that when you set up your plan at the beginning of the year, you know in advance what you're going to do in those situations. For my students, I always have pen and paper on my desk. If they're doing assessment, it's there. Now, what if you get the classic, but I need it for my next class? Well, is really that your problem at that point? No, that's the child's issue. And that's when you say, it's your responsibility to explain to your teacher to the next class why your iPad was taken away and what you're going to do to make sure that you take the notes that you need. Because it is not the next teacher's responsibility to do that work for that child. And that's my own opinion. If I'm going to take the iPad, it is that child's responsibility to say, well, Mr. Willis took it. But that teacher should not be punished because they did the wrong thing. You should not be punished because someone else's child was disciplined. So you can always give a courtesy call and say, hey, if it's particularly at the end of the day, hey, I took this child's iPad and they have it next. If they really need it, I'm going to let you be in charge of it. You're more than welcome to take it, but it needs to go to help desk at the end of the day. My students have just gotten in the habit of knowing that if their iPad is taken away, they don't have it for the rest of the day. They don't. And particularly if it's 7A, that's my first class, they get it taken away, it goes straight to help desk. And it's unfortunate for those teachers who always have kids who don't have iPads, who have to figure out how to have something to do for that child, which is why it's important for everybody to have a backup plan. Even though you may not have the iPad in the room, you may have a child who doesn't have an iPad. They could be a day user who it's got to be something's wrong with it, so help desk has it, or they left it at home, or it's not charged. It's always helpful to have a backup plan anyways. Fortunately for my subject, I'm a very active, involved subject, so I don't have to use my iPad in my classroom every day. Some of you like to have notes taken for your class. How many of you are core teachers? How many of you like your children to use notes on their iPad? What is wrong with handwritten notes? Absolutely nothing. That's why we have apps like Seesaw, where you can have the child take the notes, handwritten, and then take pictures of it later. That's a good tool to have. If they start to whine and say, what do I need it for my next class? Well, you know what? Take your notes on paper, and you can take a picture of it tomorrow. Just make sure you're responsible for your note. Put the responsibility on them. And really, and as far as adding stuff to what you already do, it's not necessary. We all have had new technology when we got computers. How many of you all remember the days when we didn't even have computers in the room? That was middle school for me. So teachers all the time have to stay abreast of what's happening. Not calling anybody out on age. But things are always changing. Things are always happening. And that's not to say those are bad. The iPads can be very useful in the classroom. If you've not used Seesaw yet, you need to use it because it's a great app. There's another great app that I use in my room, Handouts. Because I'm able to take pictures of music on the board, and they work on it right in front of them, and are able to send it back to me. And they can actually write music on their iPad, physically write it, and send it to me, and I can grade it. It's an easy way to do things. So I'm sure there's another session talking about those kind of things, so I won't go into those details, but if you have questions at the end, you're more than welcome to ask. And essentially, that's all I've got for you. It's about doing what works for you, but staying strict. So do you have any questions about your individual subject? Or any situations that have occurred that you need some advice on?
Has anybody seen Casper Focus yet?
You're all gonna have it.
And my students were really talking about it. They're like, can you get control of my iPad?
They've figured out how to get around it already.
They take it off. Oh, my daughter told me this morning.
Something about
They're
Wi-Fi and
deleting the
Bluetooth.
self-service stuff.
If they delete the self-service app, that's what my daughter told me.
So I know like Sullivan and I were talking about it. He said if they catch, he's been telling his kids that if they catch them taking self-service off, they're taking their iPads for the week. But that's not actually.
Self-services went all the testing and everything.
Also, if they cut off their Wi-Fi, it won't,
Yeah.
if they cut off their Wi-Fi, because they have to be
Right.
connected to the network.
Yeah.
But
but you can see who's done it. Yeah, on the app will tell you, like, when you do it, I'm not gonna open my iPad because,
I'm gonna move over there, so move over here.
but when you have Casper Focus open, you can see each individual student's name on there, and it'll tell you if it's focused or not on that app. If it's not, it'll give you like a red exclamation point, and it'll say cannot focus app because it is not connected to the network or something like that. So you'll know which kids have the Wi-Fi off or have deleted the cell service, and you can go to that child's iPad.
Well,
It's really awesome. I watched Mr. Lofton, sixth grade teacher, take over the class. And it was.
Go ahead and take your iPads out.
Which is like overtime. And they were all sitting there playing games, and all of a sudden he took over, and they were like, Mr. Lofton! I mean, they flipped, they took over. It was pretty awesome. Yeah.
okay, so I'm gonna teach you a hidden trick that you have to work very carefully to do. It'll take some time to set up, but I'll give you some tips as to how to make it work fast for you. So open up your iPad. And open up Pages. Now, go back to Home and then open up Settings. If Casper seems to go away and they figured out the way to do this, for your troublesome kids, if you honestly really need them to have their iPads, this is something you can do. Again, listen to instructions very carefully because they have to follow instructions to a T or there will be problems. Go to General in your settings. Click Accessibility. Scroll down to the category that says Learning and click Guided Access. Sorry, I'm sorry. I will wait for you guys. Okay, so it's Settings
Go to what?
to General.
Wait a minute, I'm not even there. No, I'm not.
Settings, General, and then click Accessibility.
I don't know.
Okay, so go to Home.
Go the other way. There you go.
Okay, and then Settings, General, Accessibility, and scroll down to the category of Learning and click Guided Access. Now click the Guided Access button on. You should see the three categories: passcode settings, time limits, accessibility shortcut. Only one I want you to click is passcode settings. Then go set guided access passcode. Now, let's say that we're in social studies, we're talking about a day in history, 1492. I'm going to stay at the door, and the students will know, because I've trained them at this point, that when they get ready to come to my door, they have to have this ready to go. I will go. Now click 1492 in yours. Yep. It'll ask you to type it in again. 1492. Oh, or you can do another. You have 6. Wow. Then do 1492.92. Then type it in again. Again, this is when you're really desperate and you have a kid who just will not pay attention and you want them to have your iPad. Now, click the Home. Double click. Go back to Pages. You can click to Home, then double click. Double click to Pages. I'm doing single and double clicks for a reason.
Double click.
Faster.
That's what he.
Okay, then choose Pages. Now, triple click the Home button. You should see a menu come up at the top. This is guided access. So go to Pages, triple click. And Hit start. You should see a little thing in the center that says guided access started. Anybody need help getting there?
Can you tell me those instructions all over?
I can. Let me make this demonstration and I'll give you those instructions. If I can get a pen, I'll write them on the board. We all good? Okay, so click pages. Make sure there. Now triple click. That should come up and hit start.
I just didn't see it.
Now, try to go to Instagram or Twitter or something.
You can't do anything.
It only allows you to do one app at a time. You cannot go to another app. So if you know that you're only going to need one app for taking notes and you have that troublesome kid, you can take their iPad and be like, that's fine, I got you covered right now. Now you can't do anything. And they won't know the passcode. And at the end of the day, you say, okay, those of you that got it access, triple click. Your passcode is 1492. For those of you that 6, it's 1492.92. Hit end. Go to settings. Make sure you do not triple click. And then turn off your guided access. Trust me, they will learn how to turn that guided access off because they don't want it on there. But the guided access has to be turned off. Here's why. I made this mistake when I first started using it. If they triple click and you forget that passcode, they can't get back in and they have to restart the entire iPad, like hard restart. So they'll lose everything they have. So you have to be very careful with that. Now, if I can,
So we go to settings, general, guided access.
I'll call it out again. Settings.
It's just so you can double.
Again, yeah, these are just in extreme situations. Settings, general, accessibility. Yes, if you've done your own stuff, even if you've taken it, but for some reason they have to have it in their hands. You are determined for them to take notes on their iPad. You've done everything, and they're still just not paying attention. This is like a last resort option, but you have to be careful of the instructions. Because again, if they accidentally set it and you don't turn that guided access off, they can restart it by accidentally triple click. You know their fingers move fast anyways. So they can accidentally hit triple click, hit start, and they're locked, and they can't do anything else. So again, this is just in extreme situations. So settings, general settings, accessibility, guided access. Then you turn it on, enter the passcode, and I would even go so far as to go ahead and set it for them. Take it to that app. And the reason I wanted you to go home first, again, to work on the single, the double, and the triple clicks. You can actually double click and go straight to the app and hit it.
So you have to have the app open first before you go to the.
No, you just have to be careful not to triple click first. So I'm giving you a method. If you're going to teach them how to do it, it gets them straight to the app and then they hit it. Once guided access is turned on, nothing will happen until that triple click goes. But again, their fingers move so fast, sometimes they will triple click on accident and not realize it. And then you're stuck.
Now, what if they're on a website, like where it's interactive?
Safari, the app itself, they'll be able to do websites over websites over websites.
Any website, but they'll be locked on Safari.
Correct.
Chrome or whatever.
Correct.
Okay, so that's
Yes.
what it is.
Yeah, it's all about locking them on the app.
Okay. But it would lock them on, okay.
So you can use it on Facebook.
So explain one more time for the dummy in the back that's wearing aqua pants. You
Triple click to start the guided access. And then a menu will pop up. Touch start.
Wait a minute, to start guided access, then you'll what?
Touch start. Whatever app they are in at that time when guided access starts,
Take a picture of it.
whatever app they're in at that time when it starts will be the app they stay on. Now I do believe if you try to start guided access on the home page, it doesn't do anything until you go to an app. So if I'm home, I can triple click, it won't do anything. So it's not until I go to an app and then triple click. That's when it'll start.
Now, how did you set it so that we couldn't do that? Like, where
do you get the passcode? I mean, is that?
You make that.
You make it up. Like I said, if you're studying a day in history and the day in history is 1492, you can walk in and put that in their iPad. And then say, by the way, your passcode for today was 1492.
So you put it
So I can
in
lock her
using mine, I'll lock it
Mhm.
You would have to go to pick her iPad up and do it.
That's what I'm saying. They would know when they walk into the room, if you're doing it as a class,
You type it in there.
You type it in, you physically type it in there.
as they walk in, they stop at the door, they have their iPads ready, you just type in the code, and they go sit down. So again, it's about training, it's about protocol.
Right, but do I have to have something on there, like,
No, you
take it
Nope.
from a teacher standpoint?
No.
What do you do as a teacher?
You would stand.
As a teacher, watch this.
Stood at the door.
Do you have got to act?
No,
I'm gonna get for it.
I know how to cut it on. I'm saying, how do I come up with my own passcode?
Make it up.
You make it up. You make it
New
up.
one every
You can
time you
make
do
up a
it.
new one every.
Every
just
time,
make it
because
up
you
every
put it
time.
back off.
It is something.
Cut yours on and put the same thing?
You don't have to do it on yours.
But you don't
You're
tell
just
them
logging.
That's what I'm saying.
You
Watch.
don't do it on yours.
Watch.
Yeah, you're just doing it on theirs.
Okay, so she came in.
Got you, okay. I got you. I got you. So I have to physically do it on theirs?
Yes.
Gotcha.
You don't have it on yet.
That's what
Okay,
I was
accessibility. Oh, no, I'm going to turn it on
trying-
for
I was
you.
thinking more of a.
Don't worry.
situation.
Don't worry. I got this for you. I got it taken care of. You don't have to worry about it.
I haven't used Casper yet, but I know, that you have control. But for me to control yours, I have to take yours and do it.
Yep.
So it's kind of an individual basis.
Right.
Now, I know her passcode. She doesn't.
She doesn't.
So she can't go on until I tell her passcode. So in the class, I say, got it, access users? Got it, access users, your passcode? You can go ahead and triple click. Your passcode is 523698.
So when you told us to go there the first time and type it in twice, that was us programming.
That was you
That's
programming.
what you would do to our.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Now, is there anything that happens if you forget as a teacher what the passcode was?
You're in trouble. Yes. That's why it's only used for emergencies. Only use it for emergencies.
you were born.
And bless their hearts, they will try to guess that passcode. And they will sit there, and while you're there, they're going to look over your shoulder, try to ask you a question, just so you can see it being typed in. You just say, you can stand in front of me. Thank you. And make sure your hand is here. Learn how to use more fingers, because they will watch the motion of your hand to figure out the pattern. They're sneaky, so you had to be sneakier.
So I'm living with a parent of a child here that has one at home that I'm on.
Well, don't tell them I said.
Yeah, see, y'all think outside the box now. And taking this home.
Do you have any other questions?
So you don't do this, like, you don't do it with every student in the classroom, you do it for that one extreme case who,
Yes.
no matter what, will take.
Yes, go with your original plan. Just take the iPad first. That gets rid of all the iPad problems.
Just take it for our class, you're saying you do it for all day.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can just choose to take it, okay, it's.
Yeah,
my class.
yes, yes. My students know that when I take it from them, it is till the end of the day. And I go ahead and give it to help desk. They don't come to me for it, because they have to know that it's going to punish them in other ways. If I take it from them, they're not going to have it in other classes. So if they know they need it, they can cry to me all they want. I'm sorry. You know my rules. You broke them, you know the consequences for that. So you have to deal with the consequences, not me or your next teacher. The responsibility, it's tough, but if people know your plan at the beginning of the year, and if a staff works together to create a school-wide management plan on how it works, and Ms. French at the middle school, she was doing a great job of helping us manage as a school-wide. And by coming to my room and saying, don't do this, because I've had that before. Love you. To just sending emails about, hey, just some advice on this. Make sure that this is happening when iPads are in the room. So it's about all of us working together. These are supposed to be used for education. This is supposed to enhance what we already do in our classrooms, not create more problems. So if it's creating more problems, try not to use them. Another thing to do is have specific times to use them in your classroom. So, ladies, I will set your iPad code myself.
We are putting old school knows how to do this now.
Okay,
That's
all right.
what we're doing.
So, for a performance class, I might take notes. Are you tweeting? Make sure you tweet me. I like to use my iPads at the beginning of class, So if they're in like first 10 minutes, they know at 10 minutes they'll say, all right, iPads on the chairs. They won't use them for the rest of the day. So you can also set in your plan a specific time, a specific manner that you use the iPad. So they don't have to think about, should I have my iPad out now or not? They just know based on your teaching. So if you're like, all right, it's time for notes, iPad's out or iPad's down. And stick to it and make it consistent. Consistency is the most important thing when it comes to using your iPad. Consistency and protocol. Any other questions? All right. I believe we are almost done. Did everybody sign in? So Hughes. Is Hughes here? Okay. Hughes? Nope. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I've never presented for teachers before, so this was a nervous wreck for me. Thank you very much. Thank you. You all were great. So thank you so much for playing.
I've never been in trouble before in my
No,
life.
this was new for her.